I guess we're ranking walkdowns now. Real quick, just so that we're all on the same page, a walkdown is any chord progression where the bass note specifically walk down. I'm just going to play in the key of C today so that you can see what's going on. First one we're going to do is C, G over B, and then A minor. I think this one's pretty solid. Also, I like that you can revoice this G over B and add some nice flavor to it, but it is pretty generic and it's like not super special. It works really good in church and stuff, so let's go ahead and give this one a solid B tier. So the next one we're going to do is C, E7 over B, and then A minor. And this one's pretty solid. I think this one has a lot more flavor than the first one. Definitely like a more gospel vibe. If you're playing CCM at church or whatever, they might look at you a little weird, but you can always just like save it for the end of the song for a little dramatic flair. But yeah, more often than not, you can get away with a nice C, E7 over B to A minor. It gets the job done. I like this one a lot. I think it's got good flavor. Let's go ahead and give it an A tier. The next one we're gonna do is C, B fully diminished 7 to A minor, and I like this one a lot. It pretty much is the same as the E over B, but just with like a little more angularity, I guess. It's fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this as a B tier walk down. All right, so the next one we're gonna do is C, C with a B in the bass, and then A minor. And I see this a lot in charts and stuff. I see this a lot in music and worship stuff, and I personally hate this walk down. I think this is probably one of the worst things to do. You've already heard so many good ways to get to A minor that are pretty, and I just don't like staying on this C over B chord at all. I don't like a major chord with the 7th in the root. I just think it's tacky, and it kind of, to me, shows like a lack of an understanding of harmony. I just think that like if you're playing it in a pop song or in church or in jazz or whatever, you know, there's so much more you could do with that. Like I think that like that diminished chord is a lot smoother. I think that the G over B is a lot smoother. I think that pretty much all of these are a better option than like the C over the B. I don't know. Not to sound like a hater, but I just think this is trash, and if you use it, you stink. So we're gonna give that one an F tier because it's just horrible. All right, so that's a couple walkdowns that get you to A minor. Let's extend this a little bit. Here's a good one. We got C, G over B, A minor, G, and then we land on F. And this is one that you get a lot in classic rock. Like it's in some Bob Dylan song, which is escaping me right now. It's also in The Wait by the band, which is really good. But I think this is a great way to get to the 4 chord. If I'm on C and I need to get to F, this is a really nice one just to get there. So, you know, just walk it all the way down, and it's nice and it's really cute. We're gonna give that C to F walk down. Let's go ahead and give it a A tier. It's pretty solid. Good songwriting device for sure. So the next one we're gonna do is the classic blues turnaround, which is C, C7 with a B flat in the bass, F over A flat 7, and then you can play G to C, or you can play C, C7 over B flat, F, A flat, and then do a C with a G in the bass, and then do a G, and then resolve it to C. And that's like kind of more gospel way to go about it. But I think this turnaround is awesome. We're gonna go ahead and throw it as an A tier, just because if you play blues music at all, you need to know that it gets used all the time. All right, so now we're gonna go from the 2 and walk down to the 5. We've got D minor, C, G over B, A minor, and then we land on G or G7, and then you can resolve it there. And I like this one a lot. I actually stole this one from O Come All Ye Faithful, so another nice little church song. Yeah, that's solid. I like that. It's pretty. And it has good voice leading, but you probably don't use it too much, so let's just go ahead and give it a C. Like, it's good, but like for the practicality of it, it's just not super duper common. All right, now we're doing some minor walk downs. So we're gonna start on this A and walk down the scale too. So the first one we'll do is A minor, G, F, and then E7, which I think this is solid. This is the walk down from Hit the Road Jack. And And I think this one is great. You can use it as a compositional device, and you don't necessarily need to use it quick like that. Like you can kind of stay on each chord and just take your time on each one, and then it resolves to that A. So it's nice because you walk down to the 5, and then that 5 can land back on the 1. So it creates a sort of endless loop. And if you're a songwriter, little looping chord progressions for pop are super good and useful. So for that basic minor walk down, let's go ahead and give it a B because it's solid, but it's not the most interesting thing I've ever heard. So the next one we're going to do is sort of chromatic or even sort of a melodic minor deal. So we'll start A, and then A minor with a G sharp in the bass. Nice dissonant sound there. Then G, and then D with an F sharp in the bass. And this one's pretty cool because the notes are just going to move chromatically, and then the chords are going to kind of follow that. And you can see here, I didn't play an A in the bass, I switched to an E, and then G, and then that D over F sharp. So there's some flexibility here with what you're playing. You can keep the A minor. That's also, it's gives you sort of a Baroque sound, I think, more Johann Sebastian Bachian sound. And then G, and then that D over F sharp almost kind of puts you into Dorian land. So instead of thinking about it like A natural minor, you're sort of in that Dorian zone. And that's really fun and cool, a really nice color to play with as a compositional device. So I like this one quite a bit. Let's just go ahead and give this one an A tier. This one's nice, it's interesting. All right, so the next one we'll do is sort of like a variation on that. Instead of walking down fully chromatically, we're still gonna be in that Dorian realm. We'll play A minor, and then G, and then D over F sharp, and then we can land on F. And then you could even do a quick E and then go back to A, or you could just play A minor and then G, D with F sharp in the bass, F, and then just go right back to A. Either of those work. You don't always need to 5-1 everything. Like, yeah, it's important to understand how falling fifths chord progressions work, but you don't have to do it. Sometimes it's actually fun to subvert the expectation of the listener. Now, this chord progression is pretty good. You can use it for pop songs. You can use it for hip hop songs. It has a lot of flexibility. So I'm going to go ahead and give it like a solid B tier. The next one we're going to do is sort of like an R&B one. So we'll do A minor, G minor, C, and then F, and then E. So we're still accomplishing the same thing as a walk down, but we're just adding some of that fifth movement in the bass, add a little 2-5 action. And this one sounds best if you actually do it with some jazz chords, like yeah, that's nice. It's used in I Get Lonely by Janet Jackson. In that case, it's in the key of D. And then actually in this one, you can do a double 2-5 thing. So you can play D, G, C minor, F, B flat, and then go to that A7, which is still the same numbers as if we were to play, you know, A minor, G minor 7, C7, F, and then E, and then we can play A, D, G, C, F, and then resolve it to E. And then land on that A minor there. That chord progression is money. We're gonna just go ahead and give that an S tier because it freaking rocks. All right, so now let's do some chord progressions that start on the 4 chords. So the first one we're gonna do is F, C over E, D minor, and then C. And this one gets used in a lot of gospel music, and it has a solid R&B sound. It's also the one from Let's Stay Together. You know, whether times are good or bad or happy or sad. So yeah, that song is incredible. So already this just gets an A for me. This chord progression is awesome. The last one we'll do is F, E minor, D minor, and C. And this one's pretty good. It also sounds a lot better if you add extensions to the chords. So you can have like F major 7, E minor 7, D minor 7, or even 9, and then land on that C major 7. Or you can even just go to the D minor chord, and that's got a nice, I mean, that's like really common motive in R&B songs. I like this one a lot. It's used in Standing in the Need by John P. Key, which is probably one of my favorite gospel songs. So we're gonna go ahead and give this one a solid A tier. Well, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. Go ahead and like and subscribe and all that stuff if you want to, or if you don't, do whatever you want. You're your own person. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, so before I was saying, like, yeah, there's no context in which this C with a B in the bass should be used. I personally hate this walkdown. I just think this is trash, and if you use it, you stink. And I was wrong. And so, like, what does this mean? Because in most contexts, I was right. This chord's trash. But in the Johann Sebastian Bach context, we've got... and it works, and it's beautiful. A lot of these things have contexts in which they work and contexts in which they don't work. So there is a place, in my opinion, for every single musical device. And yes, does this completely contradict the entire idea of the video with like ranking arbitrary musical sounds? It absolutely does. So if you don't take anything else away from this video, just take that, like take the idea of not judging things too quickly and too harshly, and constantly learn new things and remain open to the fact that even though you might not like something at first, there is perhaps a context in which that is the right move. So yeah,